Did some changes.
There it went.
Oh, great. Well, it is just a little bit after 7, but time to go ahead and get started. We wanted to welcome you all. Becky, did you want to start with the welcome?
Go ahead, Joan. That's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Um, we're so glad that you all were able to come here tonight. We have a special speaker, David Wright, landscape artist from Meetinghouse Facilities Department at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And we feel very honored to have him here. He's going to be sharing with us the before and after experience of establishing a water-wise re-landscaping project at the Avenues Meeting House, which has become a model for other LDS communities and making changes. So that David knows who's here. I think it would be great if we could just run through and say who we are and which denomination, community, or church that we are from. And I'll say I'm Joan Gregory at First Unitarian Church of Salt Lake City. And I'll pass it to Becky.
Hey, I'm Becky Burridge. I'm with Holiday United Church of Christ. And we'll just go ahead. We just met David and Jana. Go ahead. You can unmute for everybody can unmute while we're introducing.
I'm Jana also with Holiday United Church of Christ, and I'm also kind of selfishly paying attention because I'm on the HOA board where I live, and we're talking about doing some more conscious landscaping. So I'm interested in learning more.
Brittany?
Yeah, I'm Brittany Mangelson, and I'm the pastor of Community of Christ that's located in Mill Creek. And are we calling on the next person? I'll go to Ivy.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, took me a minute to unmute. I'm Ivy Thompson. I'm actually a member of the LDS Church. My cousin is on your email list, and she forwarded me this Zoom call because she knew I'd be interested. I actually worked with David when I started my graduate program like a long time ago and was super excited to hear an update about what he's been up to. So, yeah, I'm really excited to join this meeting and learn from y'all. So, thank you. And let's see, Lauren, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I may shut my video off. I'm sorry. I'm a little under the weather. But I'm Lauren Knox, and I am with Congregation Colony. And I'm actually the chair of their sustainability program. So I'm very excited to be here. And I will call on Helene.
I'm Helene Cuomo, and I'm with the Jewish community. And we'll go with Rebecca.
Hi, I'm Rebecca, and I'm with Unity of Salt Lake. And we will go with, let's see, Gail.
Sorry, I just hopped on. I am a friend of Joan Gregory's. This is my first meeting.
And let's see. Steve.
Hi, this is Sandy and Steve. We are with First Unitarian Church, and we work with the environmental ministry there.
Thank you. And I think we've got everybody. Mike, you introduce yourself, sort of. You want to say something, Mike?
Yeah, I think I know quite a few of you here, but Mike Maxwell, I am with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I'm the one that was able to persuade David to join us today. So super
Yay.
excited to hear his update. Looks like a couple other people's have joined here. So I'll flip it to Glenn, my Catholic friend.
Okay.
Greg, we're just all introducing who we are and where we're from for David.
I'm Greg Glenn. I'm from the Cathedral of the Madeleine and the pastoral administrator of the Madeleine Choir School. I'm delighted. We're excited about this project.
Okay. I think we got everybody. Anybody not get a chance to talk? I think everybody's talked. Okay. Oh, Joan, you're muted still.
I'm talking and I'm muted. That doesn't work. David, you are on. Do you have slides that you'd like to share, or
Yes.
great.
So let's see. Share. I am going to share this page. Just a second here. I'm going to share right to here. And then I am going to turn the presentation on. Now, I need to apologize. I don't think it's going to quite follow the format that Mike had described there. Hope you forgive me for that, but I'll try to do my best to explain this project and series of projects that we've been involved in. A little more information about myself. Attended a year at BYU, decided that I want to be a landscape architect. I served a mission and came back and went to Utah State because that was the place to go to be a landscape architect. And since I've got a master's degree in architectural studies with an emphasis on historic preservation, in my pre-church work, I worked as a private consultant on residential, commercial, institutional, local, state, and federal agencies. And also worked as in the public sector with the Vancouver Clark Parks and Recreation Department in Vancouver, Washington on parks, which was a lot of fun. 2011, came to work with the church and had a great experience here, working as a landscape architect and trying to add. Now, from a doctrinal standpoint, if I could share a few quotes from leaders of the church, our past president, Russell Nelson, stated, as beneficiaries of the divine creation, what shall we do? We should care for the earth, be wise stewards over it, and preserve it for future generations, and we are to love and care for one another. Those are pretty lofty goals. I really love this quote from President Camille and Johnson. It's a faithful one here. Let me reassure you that God has prepared a way for healthy living for everyone on this planet. If we are willing to employ our gifts and talents for this good, remain worthy to receive revelation, and prudently use the earth's abundant resources to care for one another. And then lastly, Elder Kosei, who was presiding bishopric during much of that project that I'll be discussing in part, he stated, the care of the earth and our natural environment is a sacred responsibility entrusted to us by God, which should fill us with a deep sense of duty and humility. It is also our integral component of our discipleship. So again, those are pretty lofty words that we try to follow. From the presiding bishopric's standpoint, and I work underneath the presiding bishopric, they have a couple of duties there. We're commanded to take care of the Lord's resources, and that's financial, but that's also to be earth stewards. And that's where this effort comes in. To date, for the church, we've created 8 different key operational priorities to achieve sustainability or a level of sustainability. I'm going to focus on that left hand second, that blue one there, conserve water based on ecological needs. The projects that I'm going to talk about in a moment are really focusing on that particular topic. Now, a little history, of course, from the church in the Intermountain West. Of course, you're aware that the settlement in the mid 1800s brought along with it the need to funnel irrigation to improve to improve landscapes, to provide for agricultural purposes. That was significant for a church that had sought refuge here in the West. I want to share a little quote here. This is from Brigham Young. In an 1865 meeting with congregations from Box Elder and Cache counties, Brigham Young taught, "We should waste nothing, but make everything in some way or other minister to our wants and independence." Now, Brigham Young believed that beneficial use reflected responsible stewardship over water, and this is reflected as he advocated for water to be held as a public resource and not in private ownership, which was a pretty radical notion by the standards of mid-19th century America, according to historian Dan Worcester. As time has gone on, we've had things like lawn becoming a status symbol. Also later in the 1930s, as far as the church went, there was an improvement and beautification committee that set about to try to improve the landscapes of some of the meeting houses, like the one you can see in that image attached there. The just dirt landscape didn't quite cut it. Later, adding to the story, in the late 60s, 70s, and 80s, automatic irrigation systems became kind of a big deal. And with that, water use has increased dramatically from the residential standpoint, which was felt in effect somewhat in those early, I guess, the late years of the 20th century. But right around the turn of the millennium, there was a significant drought, and there had been droughts before, and there'll be droughts in the future. But this particular drought, from as far as the USGS goes, between 99 and 2002, was one that really put an effect on how we looked at things. Elder Boyd K. Packer sent out a notice to local leaders to conserve. Along with that, and in my group, and this is where kind of my efforts come in with the physical facilities, and now it's meeting house facilities department, there was an emphasis put on our landscapes to be more attuned to the ecology that we're in. So in 2007, we developed cold desert, warm desert designs. Later, those were enhanced to more accurately reflect. So in 2007, we were at a 35% level of lawn implementation at our meeting houses with our standard designs. And that got dialed back a little bit in 2016. This effort that I'm going to talk about in part today, I'm calling it the Research 7. We had 7 projects that we worked on, including the one on the avenues right by Greg's location there. And then in 2024, 25, we've gone through some significant efforts to implement smart controllers within the Intermountain service area, looking at overseeding of projects. And then landscape primer there, that's just a discussion about when projects come in to the church, and I review projects as a landscape architect with the facilities management, with the meeting house facilities department. I review those, and it gives me an opportunity to prod designers and say, hey, why aren't we doing less lawn at this landscape? So that's just a history of some of the things that church has seen, done, participated in over the years. I want to give you this graph to give you an idea of what we're looking at. If you look at things from a number standpoint, on a gallon saved for dollar spent, a wise implementation of a smart controller can save you quite a bit more water than the other approaches suggested here. The other approaches include better management or overseeding of existing lawns with a drought-tolerant grass, or a major landscape remodel, which has kind of been the invitation to this particular project. So I'm just giving you an idea, and I think from a practical standpoint, if you and your congregation are looking to save water, our experience, what we've seen is that the implementation of smart controllers is a very inexpensive way to save right off the bat. So that's just for your information there. Again, on the smart controller topic, we estimate that through full implementation now, we could save over 500 million gallons of water annually through good operation of those systems. Let's be honest here, these systems could be operated like a standard irrigation clock where people kind of circumvent how the controllers work. And maybe I should explain how the controllers work a little bit. What they do is they take evapotranspiration data, weather data, and based upon inputs that a contractor would include in the programming of the clock, it matches weather conditions to assumed soil conditions. So that's what a smart controller does. That's what a smart controller does. Now, I could spend a lot more time talking about this topic if anybody's interested. If you are, raise your hand. I may not be able to see you, but I'm going to continue on here to talk about some of those other things too. So that's the smart controller implementation. Another thing that was interesting to us, and I should go back a little bit. So on this scale, we've got on the left-hand side, you've got smart controllers, and then management is something that will help you save more gallons than per dollar spent. The overseeding is the next category, and it's kind of in between the major landscape remodel and between the smart controller implementation on a gallon saved per dollar spent. So that overseeding, what I'm referring to there is we have a lot of lawns at our rec properties and at our meeting houses. That's just the way they were built. And so another approach to possibly take is to kill off the existing water consuming lawn and overseed it with a lower water requiring turf mix. There's been a lot of study recently that says that you can save up to 30% in a Turf Water Conservation Alliance certified turf mix. And so we've implemented these at a number of places. The lawns have come in quite nicely, and we'll really see next year how those fare. So now to specific projects. There were actually 7 that we worked on starting in 2023. I guess the project kicked off in 22, but we started to work on them in 23 more in earnest. This is an example of a property up in Ogden where we had lawn around the building. It was a place where if you look closely, you can see some sparseness in some of the lawn areas. And that's because the Weber Basin Water Conservation District instructed people to cut back on their watering significantly, and that had an adverse effect on the lawn, but it also made for an opportunity at this location to come back and address a landscape that was more water conservation minded. I would point out to you, so you've got the large lawn expanses around the building. If you look along the brick of the building there, you can see there are calcium stains along the side of the brick. And that's not uncommon when you have sprinklers right up next to the building there. Something you got to consider in the implementation. So it was considered in this, and you can look at the brick walls and they have been cleaned. So that was part of the effort. But large chunks of the lawn around this building were removed and replaced with low-growing shrubs, various varieties of shrubs, as well as trees and ornamental grasses on the site. And we use different rock mulches because often if you're planting at a site like this, it can look like a lot of rock and it can feel a little overwhelming. So we try to break it up. And in this instance, we've got bark mulch along with rock mulch. We found that for bark mulch that we were no longer installing weed barrier fabric because it likes to engage with the weeds, and it makes it kind of problematic long term. Rock mulch, we're still using it, but those are a couple of just interesting tidbits about some landscape design principles. This is on the back side of that same building. If you look at that, you can see a lot of lawn running up on some slopes as they go into the building there. And then this is an after view of that same area. We still preserved lawn areas. There was one on the front that you may have seen in the other photo, and there's one here. And these were areas designated as locations where they might be more functional pieces of lawn. So you could have a gathering that would come out of the meeting house and could end up on that lawn area. And then you can see the rock mulch areas along with boulders, as well as the bark mulch areas. And I think I've got a few more pictures, a couple more pictures of this one. This is on the south side of the site there. You can see the lawn on a slope and the existing block areas there. And in the process of this project, we removed the lawn, revised those blocks that were used, use some natural stone. We got a really good contractor who did a great job out here. And the site looks really good in this condition here. It's not the green lawn, it's different, but you can still have color as is shown here with the roses, as well as the perennials and the ornamental grasses on the hillside there. Overall, at this particular site, we are estimating we're going to be saving about 58% of the water that we would have used for the normal lawn landscape. I'm working my way down from Ogden down to Salt Lake, so I'll get there. Not this one, the next one here. And if you want to spend more time, just let me know. This is Clearfield, and we had a 1950s building there that had large tracts of lawn on it. This one was interesting for a principle that we didn't fully implement. In the back area, there's a large parking lot, and we had reviewed what it would take to actually break up that parking lot and implement new planters. And it's an expensive endeavor there. So we didn't necessarily go there, but with the large panels of lawn in front that really are generally not used, this was a great opportunity to implement some new design principles here. And here's another view of that. Again, you have a couple of different rock mulches out there with a concrete divider in between the mulches. And if you look up in front of the building, there's still a panel of lawn. And that's because that was a gathering place that they wanted to keep there. So there's still some lawn on the site for outdoor activities there. So here's what I call the 135A building here. And so back in 22, this may have been taken in early 23, when getting ready to do the project. You can see the large lawn panels around the building, but also there are some large spruce trees right out in front of it. The spruce trees fared through some pretty good windstorms. There was a little concern that maybe they weren't going to be faring better going forward. So in response to these various conditions, we actually removed those from the front of the building, and now you can see it better. And then most of the lawn around the building has been removed, with some panels that have been kept in place for outdoor activities. But this corner here, you can see the building better now, and there's a nice landscape that's there with more water conserving plants. I wouldn't say that's necessarily the case all the way across the board, but it's shrubs will consume a lot less water than the lawn does. There are a couple of reasons for that. One, we do overwater, and I'm not just saying the church. I think people in general overwater their lawn. It's a standard practice, but also lawn does require more water than the shrubs, just as a species to species comparison goes. So if you were to look at lawn, I think in a lot of places it's said that lawn needs about 24 inches of water during a growing season. It's 2 feet of water. That's a lot of water. So that compared to shrubs quite a bit better there for water conservation purposes. Here's another view of that same building there. And in a little closer, you can see the lawn, but you can also see where a lot of lawn has been removed. It was important to keep the little historic marker out in front of the building. If I go back 2 slides, this area became a bit of an outdoor gathering area. So the removal of lawn, it didn't remove the opportunity to gather in front of the building, but the form of that gathering took a different shape, in that now it's a gravel paved area where you can come out and visit outside of the meeting house. Okay, so that's that building. We estimated that this one would save about 65% of the water it used to consume. Okay, I'm going to go to another one. This one's, I'm pretty excited about it because it's really outside the box. And because as far as the church is concerned, we have a lot of lawn areas at our meeting houses. So what we did is we took, this is kind of a potential microcosm for all those other buildings that have a lot of lawn at them. It has trees in the lawn area. And if you're going to re-landscape this site, and this is on Mario Capecchi at the University of Utah, if you're going to re-landscape the site, there are a number of considerations you have to make. One, there's so much lawn here. 2, you have the existing trees, which are an asset. You really want to keep those. So instead of removing all of the lawn, we transitioned the lawn to a different type of grass there. So we kept a bluegrass right in front, and then we went to a meadow type of grass that we're planning on consuming quite a bit less water here. This is a May picture of the site, and this next one is a early July picture. So it's a different application of the use of lawn. We cut down on the amount of irrigation, but we still protected the trees in place. It helps us to not damage the roots of the trees. And it also, we actually added sprinklers around the trees themselves to help protect them. So you can see that lawn in front, it's doing very well, This is an interesting one. Again, I mentioned this is outside of the box, but this is one where we actually installed subsurface irrigation. So rather than sprays going over the top, which can still operate there are drip lines that go underneath the grass. And that cuts down on the amount of evaporation on the site. It puts water in the root zone and should be much more efficient in terms of watering that lawn panel. In the meantime, the perimeter areas have a grass that grows tall. So it's an interesting change from our normal mindset, and it kind of pushes the boundaries a little bit, and we'll see how this one's accepted there. Got a couple of other projects. This one's down in Lehigh. You can see a lot of lawn around it. And then we removed lawn from a few areas and added some low water requiring shrubs. Here's another example. This is down in Castledale, Utah. And some time ago, not too long ago, they had done a project out here, but we enhanced it even more. I think if you compare this site with the Mario Capecchi site, there's an interesting thing you can note from the original conditions. This is lawn, but you can see it's yellow there a little bit. In the heat of the summer, it's tough to keep that cool season grass going. So again, as I get to this Castledale project, you can see in the heat of the summer, it's tough to keep things going. Not only is it tough because this is a cool season grass, but also because the water is really dirty here. It's secondary water and it needs multiple filtrations. And
David?
There was a question. Yes.
Yeah, I'm seeing some questions come in, and we're noticing that there doesn't seem to be an easy way to raise hands. So Ivy asked a question about native meadow grasses a while back, and I'm not sure if she's able to indicate which of those places, and how does maintenance differ in cost and labor for the subsurface irrigation compared to standard above ground irrigation?
Yeah, those are good questions. But as far as maintenance of the meadowgrass goes, we're finding out a little bit about that. It's something we're not used to. Something that we are used to is just watering it, fertilizing it, mowing, edging, blowing. Now there's a little bit of a difference here. You don't mow it as often, so that cost goes down. You still need to fertilize it. It's not fertilized as often. And you also need to do some weed suppression on it. On this particular image, you can see in that kind of the right side of that foreground meadowgrass area, there's a volunteer plant of some sort that's growing up out of it because it doesn't have the same kind of mowing repetition there. Weeds grow up, so you have to go out and spray it a little bit. So there are differences. As far as the subsurface drip goes, this is funny because I had a conversation two days ago on this particular topic, and the guy who's in charge of maintaining it said, I don't think we should be doing that. So I think it's a challenging topic here. Does it make sense over this broad area? Maybe not, but it was an opportunity to test it out. I think there are opportunities if you have existing lawn and park strips to do it there. On the other hand, a lot more pressure is being placed on communities to remove lawn from their park strips. So does subsurface drip have an application? Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. I have seen large parks over in the Denver area where they've used subsurface drip, and it's been very successful. But they also have the right tools to take care of it. And they've really embraced that maintenance approach. So I think there are a number of factors that affect you. The maintenance base of individuals in the place that you're working in, as well as the tools that are available to you as well. Are there some other questions?
Mike, did that answer your question as well?
I didn't. My question was, David, is the subsurface drip underneath just the Kentucky bluegrass section, or is it under all of the?
It's just the Kentucky blue.
Okay, so you're. Is there any kind of irrigation spray or anything going on the rangegrass area?
Yeah. Whereas on the meadowgrass area, well, for Kentucky blue area, if you were watering there, you might water 3 times a week for, depending on the head, 40 minutes, 50 or 60 minutes each time. For that meadowgrass area, you dial it down to maybe 1 time a week for that same duration there. Yeah. So that's cutting down on the water use quite a bit.
Great, thank you.
Other questions?
Are there any challenges with local governments regarding the parking strips? Are permits required? Is there a kind of a difficult process with that?
Generally speaking, there isn't a difficult process. A lot of municipalities, when it comes to landscaping, they don't get too involved there. This was one where we were actually a little bit concerned because it was the busy Maria Capecchi way. And we did have some conversations with UDOT, and I think we did have a specific permit for this site where we did engage with UDOT here. They gave us permission, obviously, and it moved along. So generally, no, but it depends on where you're at there.
Go ahead, David.
Okay. So I was talking about Castledale here, and you can see the larger lawn panels. This is coming back in, again, still keeping some lawn panels, but also adding some more planter area. This is nice because we're able to maintain those existing columnar beach along the side of the building, which adds some nice color to the overall site. On this one, because there wasn't as much lawn removal here, we're estimating around 29% water savings from where it was before. I would also mention that we had to add in a second layer of filtration at this specific site. We're kind of at the end of the water line. And so as the season begins or as it ends, there's a lot of silt and debris and whatnot in the irrigation lines that are provided. So you have to make a consideration there, and we did that. Here's an example of a building down in St. George. And as you can see here, there was a lot of lawn on a hillside on that site. And so this made a lot of sense to look at some implementation of water-wise principles. This is the after view there, and was lucky to get some crepe myrtle color going for us on this particular site. But you can see a couple of different rock mulches, some new trees and new plant material. And it's so nice to be in a heated area where things just grow and grow and grow. But lawn isn't terribly appropriate in those kind of places. We still have a little bit of lawn up towards that. That would be the southwest corner of the building for outdoor engagements and whatnot. But most of the lawn was removed here. We estimated on this particular site, which is smaller than others, a 54% water savings overall. Okay. So those are the 7 that we worked on 23, along with some additional information for everybody here. and like to open it up again if there are any additional questions that you might have.
So I've got a question about finances and money. And so I mean that 95% water savings portion, part of the presentation sounds exciting, and yet it sounds like it's probably way expensive. So when you're comparing the 95 to the 21, and they've got the 33 and the 31 in between, which is what we've, I think, been seeing, right? Is um the changes, the 33 and 31 changes. How do those compare financially? And thoughts on financing those kinds of things. Yeah, 33 and 36. Sorry.
Yeah. So again, smart controller, this particular smart controller, we're doing it in a manner so that we can be good water managers. There are smart controllers available from the 250 range on up to $4,000 range there. And it depends on a lot of factors that you want to consider. For our purposes, within the Intermountain Facility Service area, we wanted to have a more water manager kind of opportunity. So we're more in the $3,000 range. And what that does is that helps us be able to monitor things from a single location. And you see the management portion here. We've added a water manager to help us out and to be able to guide the contractors to be a little better. And this is a learning process. So we hope to get better at this all the time. There's some, I'm talking about the church examples, but we were introduced to this by some other companies, other entities. I think it was Davis School District and Park City School District implemented these types of controllers, and they've got things dialed in really well. What I hear from Davis School District is that they're at the point now where they're optimized in their irrigation because they're applying water as it's needed on the site. If they need to take another level, then they go to the next level of actually removing lawn or maybe seeding with a different type of seed mix there. So this is kind of a progression of how you could do things. You kind of have to decide, okay, what are our finances like? How can we go forward here? And like I say, I think you can get a lot of return on investment for that smart controller installation.
Steve asked, do you have an estimate or average cost per square foot or acre?
Square foot or acre of a major landscape remodel?
No, Steve. Which one? Yes, he said yes to your question.
Yeah, and I got this from a number of different sources, not just our projects, but you're looking in the $10 per square foot range. It's not inexpensive. It's very expensive. This is an interesting question that other communities have dealt with. Of course, in Las Vegas, they're removing the lawn. They're making you remove the lawn. I guess you could leave it, but you can't water it. And California now is doing the same kind of thing, where you can't water non-functional turf. That's an important qualifier, non-functional turf. And that would be turf on a hillside, turf in a park strip, California has gone to great lengths to try to define it. They do have opportunities where you can come back and ask them, can we have an exception here? And they'll allow for exceptions as long as you go through the process.
There's one more question, and then I think we're going to have to move on to the rest of our meeting because we've got other things. But maybe I'll let there be two because I have one more too. But Mike asked on the St. George site, you said you left a lawn on the southwest side, but from the picture, I think that might have been the southeast side, which would which would get shade from the building in the afternoon. Was there consideration given to an area of the property that was more shaded by the building? Did you factor that in?
Well, there isn't really an area where you can have a gathering space elsewhere on this particular property. So it wasn't an opportunity. I guess you could say on the north side, that this is the southwest side of the chapel there. On the northwest side of the chapel, there's also a lawn panel. So that one's going to get a little more shade. But those were areas that the local congregation was comfortable with there.
So the shade from the building wasn't really a consideration given that your options, and what trumped was the availability of a gathering space outdoors.
Right. Yeah. There are just narrow spaces on the backside of the building there.
And Jana asked, has the LDS Church been concerned with the break-even point? How long will it take to pay for these investments?
Interesting question. Usually how the church runs these projects, they'll first of all make sure there's money for the projects before commencing with them.
Thank you so much for your for sharing all the knowledge that you have and all the work that you've done. We are in the process we have a proposal on the table that we're looking at, and one of the things that we're doing is trying to build up expertise among our congregations and get to know who has done this kind of work. And we're proposing developing several teams that any congregation could call upon that might have expertise in various areas. And so one of those is the water conservation team, providing technical information on what's involved in implementing a water conservation project. And the other is a political action team that would provide links to organizations, letter writing training and things like that to do that kind of work. And we're wondering if perhaps something like that you might be interested in being involved, or there might be some folks who have done some of these other projects in the state that maybe we could check in with you and find out if there may be some more expertise that we could tap into.
Yeah,
all of this is a nonprofit kind of approach that we're doing from church to church to church. Yeah.
Understand. Yeah, there are quite a few individual companies who have the expertise for sure. As far as that's easy to point to, they're companies, they want to make a profit for what they're doing, and understandably so. A couple of sources that can help you find those individuals there is to go through Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District. If I'm not mistaken, they have some resources. You might have seen on my the acronyms after my name, QUEL, Qualified Water Efficient Landscaper. And through that resource, there are a number of individuals who help on these particular topics. So I've mentioned Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District, QUEL. Utah State University has an excellent list of resources out there. Also, any of the large water purveyors would help you. So along with Jordan Valley, you'd have Weber Basin Water Conservancy District. I'm not sure if they would have a list, but they would be good people to go to assist with those kinds of things. And Utah State as I would say this, Utah State is a nonprofit. They have a number of different resources and tools, and Ivy, who's on here, could speak to those. They'll come out and do water checks. They'll see how efficient your irrigation systems are and can help you in that way. And they can tell you also by the use of water maps, which is now a thing, especially in Salt Lake City, they can tell you how good you're doing in relation to the landscape type that you have in place. So, yeah.
Thank you, David. Becky? You're muted.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to mention that there is an issue that I think maybe the church might have some an ability to help with, and that has to do with rebates that are being offered by the state.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we had for our church, we did a small area last year, and unfortunately we found out that the rebates are quite a bit lower for institutions, and churches fall under that category.
Oh.
So it's quite a bit lower for institutions than it is for homeowners. And we did write some letters to try to point that out to the Water Conservancy District, but so far nothing's changed. But I feel like that would be something that might benefit your church as well. If it might be a way to help with funding some of these projects, if we could get some support in making that change.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right. That's a great resource, and we haven't tapped into that. But yeah, I know that's offered out there. And so a lot of times the amount that they'll give you is like $2 or $3 per square foot. And that helps, that's 30% of that $10 figure that I gave you before, which is a very easy number to remember. So it's maybe not entirely accurate, but that helps a lot, at least that amount that they offer.
Yeah. But unfortunately for for we were able to get only half of the amount of our cost. Whereas for when we did our own home, we got $3 a square foot, and we did a lot of the work ourselves. For our church, we got half of the $3 amount, and and we did our own work, most of it ourselves, and we came out pretty well. But that would be a big improvement if we could make that change. I think for small churches with a low budget.
Yeah. That's an interesting point.
Yeah. So we might be calling on you to give us a letter of support or something if we campaign about that, if you don't mind.
Okay.
That would be good.
All right.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, David. You are welcome to stay. We've got a little bit of business in a very little bit of time. We will probably go about 15 minutes over our time, and I hope that some of you, I know some weren't able to stay as long, but we really appreciate the information that you have shared with us, David, and are impressed with the work that you have done and all the efforts that the LDS Church has made to make these changes in their at their wards and steakhouses and buildings there.
There's a lot of work to be done for sure, but it's
always
we're beginning and we're figuring it out. And my pleasure to join. If you have specific additional questions or things you'd still like me to answer, feel free to send me an email, and I'll try to respond as best as I can there.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. That was great.
You guys take care.
We appreciate it.
Yep.